Ina mana, ina reo, ina iwi o te motu, tēnā koutou katoa. Ina manawa kai rākau, hoki wairua mai ki Wanganui I mātou, ki wariwari tātou. Today we commemorate Anzac Day in a way that hasn't been done before. For many, taking part in a local dawn parade or Anzac Day service is an important tradition that spans generations. Part of our heritage, it acknowledges and honours those who served our country and sacrificed their all. Things are different this year, but while we cannot physically come together, I know we are united by our respect for our veterans and our service personnel. Nationwide, from dawn and throughout the day, our individual acts of commemoration, that is what will form our collective tribute. But so do our acts every day. We're a nation that had our character defined by many things, but one has been the sacrifice of others. 75 years ago, the Second World War was drawing to a close. This Anzac Day, it's appropriate that we reflect on the journey and service of New Zealanders during that terrible modern war. More than 11,000 New Zealanders lost their lives, and 140,000 New Zealand men and women served overseas on land, on the sea, and in the air. These figures will never be abstract, distant statistics. Each represents a father, mother, brother, friend afflicted by conflict. They and their friends and whānau back home made significant sacrifices in the pursuit of unity and peace. The home front contribution was considerable, from Helena Bernard, who baked and dispatched 4.5 tons of ginger nut biscuits for troops over the 2 world wars, through to the school children who raised funds to send the mobile canteen truck Te Rau Aroha to Māori battalion soldiers. Their acts of service exemplify New Zealanders' care for others. We are privileged to still have a few precious Second World War veterans in our communities, as well as those from J-Force, Malaya, Korea and Vietnam, and subsequent conflicts and peacekeeping efforts. Wherever we may find ourselves this Anzac Day, we turn our minds to our veterans, to service personnel past and present, and to all those who have experienced conflict and crisis. Yes, we have had to find new ways to commemorate together, but our purpose remains the same. Today, we honour the Anzac commitment, and we reflect on our enduring hopes for peace in a world that does not ask for the sacrifice of war, but instead asks for a commitment to empathy, kindness, and to our shared humanity. May we remember that as we stand together this Anzac Day, lest we forget.
ka maumahara tonu tātou, kia rātou. The Ode of Remembrance will now be recited by first Mickey Apathy, RSA Kaumātua, and then BJ Clark, National President, RNZ RSA. Shortly, a minute's silence.
E kore rātou e kaumātua tia. Peni i a tātou kua mahu I honei. E kore hoki rātou e ngoi kore. Aha kua pēhea I ngā huatanga o te wā. I te heke ngā atu o te rā. Tai noa ki te ara ngāke I te ata. Ka maumahara tonu tātou, kia rātou. Ka maumahara tonu tātou, kia rātou.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
And now, a minute's silence. He tā kunetanga whakahirahira tēnei rā whakamahara ki ngā hoia o Ahitreiria me Aotearoa. Anzac Day is such an important national occasion for both Australians and New Zealanders. The national anthems of New Zealand and Australia will now be sung by the Tawa College Blue Notes, accompanied by the Royal New Zealand Air Force Band.
Amen.
te tāhua hoki, ko tērā te reo o ngā tauira o te kura tuarua o Tāua, me te pēne o te tauwārangi roera o Aotearoa. The national anthems of New Zealand and Australia, sung by the Tāua College Blue Notes, accompanied by the Royal New Zealand Air Force Band. Now, the Anzac Address at the special dawn service by the Honourable Ron Mark.
E aku i kia awhiro e hui tahi nei, e te hunga hoaia o ngā pākanga o mua. O ngā pākanga e haere aki nei, ngā poaru, ngā whānau mihi mahana, kia koutou katoa i tēnei rā maumahara. To the veterans, the soldiers of past and present battles, the widows and the families, and all those who have gathered, my warm greetings to you all on this day of remembrance. For more than 100 years, New Zealanders have gathered together each Anzac Day to remember and honour those who have served our nation in war, those who didn't come home, and those who did come home, wounded, maimed, tormented, forever changed by their service. And it's also fitting and proper at this time that we remember their families. This year, we also mark the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And while there can be none of the customary dawn services, no breakfast, tots of rum, or pints after the parade with old mates, almost none of the events we would normally associate with a special day, we can still take the time to pause, reflect, pay our respects and give thanks to those who gave so much, not just 105 years ago at Gallipoli or during the 6 long years of the Second World War, but for every conflict and every operation that we have been involved in since then. We owe them that, and it is a privilege to do so, a privilege bequeathed to us by the tens of thousands of our forebears who paid the ultimate price that we might enjoy the freedom and the liberties we do today. New Zealanders have served and fought and died alongside of our allies and friends and other Commonwealth nations over many, many years. But on Anzac Day, we especially commemorate our long-standing relationship with our closest neighbours and friends across the Tasman. We started with the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, a legendary corps that gave this day its name. The Anzac relationship is one of unity and mateship, binding us as closely today as ever. And whilst it was forged on the beaches of the Gallipoli Peninsula, in the years since, we have served side by side all over the world. We did then, we do today, and we will again if called upon. We should be, and we are, proud of that relationship and of the strength we give to and receive from each other in the tough times our countries sometimes face away from military conflict and peacekeeping. May that never falter. May that never change. Today, our small band of Second World War veterans is amongst those most threatened by COVID-19. At this difficult time, we must do all we can to support our elderly veterans and those who are most at risk. The comprehensive measures taken by New Zealand to combat the threat posed by COVID-19 have turned our lives upside down, that we know. However, we only need to look back to the terrible influenza pandemic of 1918 to see what could have happened if we had not acted so decisively. The 1918 pandemic coincided with the armistice that ended the First World War. Near my home, in Carterton, the Featherston military training camp was especially hard hit. The first cases were recorded in the camp late in October 1918, and by Armistice Day, nearly 2,500 men had gone down sick. Within a few short weeks, the pandemic had claimed 172 lives in the camp. In all, the 1918 influenza pandemic killed about 9,000 New Zealanders, losses which came on top of the grievous casualties inflicted during the First World War. Today, as the world faces this ongoing challenge, we should look back and take strength from the courage and endurance shown by our forebears at Gallipoli in 1915, in the bloody carnage of Passchendaele, the Somme, Crete, El Alamein, and so many, many more battlefields and conflict zones since then. As a Minister of Defence and for veterans, I am very proud of our Defence Force, and especially thank all those serving for their work during the current crisis. As always, they stand ready to do more, much more, to do what our armed forces personnel have always done, to step up for us in the face of a threat to our national well-being and safety. And to do this whilst at the same time lending aid and support to our Pacific Island neighbours and friends in their time of need. So this Anzac Day, look after one another. Remember, commemorate, give thanks, but in your bubble. Ka maumahara tono tātou kia rātou, lest we forget.
E te minita nei rā te mihi ki a koe. That was the Anzac address by the Honourable Ron Mark. And that brings to an end the special dawn service for 2020. Thank you so much for being part of this. Ka maumahara tonu tātou, kia rātou. We will remember them. Kia tau te rangi Māori e, kia tātou katoa. Noho oro mai.